There is one gift from God that often gets mistaken for a potential temptation. Most of the time, this gift is either abused or unused. The gift I'm talking about is beauty. Nowadays, there are usually two approaches to physical beauty. In secular culture, beauty is often equated with sex appeal, and the attention it attracts is often abused, for example, through selling nude pictures online. Devout Christians, on the other hand, sometimes end up not using the gift of beauty at all in an effort to avoid immodesty or vanity. Both approaches are incomplete because beauty has immense power for good. It has the power to transcend the material world and lift up our thoughts to the divine. In this video, I'd like to explain the power of beauty and offer some practical ideas on how this gift can be used for good. The desire for beauty is different from other desires because usually what you enjoy is the satisfaction of a desire and not the desire itself. When you're thirsty, you don't enjoy being thirsty, you enjoy quenching that thirst, and once you quenched it, it no longer occupies your mind. Beauty is different. With beauty, you enjoy the desire without its satisfaction. If you think about it, you can't consume beauty. You want to see beauty, to hear it, to discover it, but your desire for beauty is never satisfied. For example, you don't stop looking at a sunset because you've seen enough of its beauty, but because the sun has set and now you have to wait for the sun to rise again. And even though you've seen many sunsets in your life, you're not going to be less fascinated by the next one. Your desire for beauty points you to something that this world can't satisfy. It points you to the source of all beauty, God. As C.S. Lewis put it, if I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. Together with truth and goodness, beauty forms the transcendentals, which are the properties of being. And since God is being himself, they are the properties of God. In him, they reach their perfection, and only he can satisfy the desire we have for them. Recently, I was discussing the validity of Christianity with an atheist, and he criticized the fact that Christians stick gold to the walls in their churches instead of donating that money to the poor. But gold in churches serves an important purpose. The beauty of churches not only glorifies the God worshipped there, but also offers a glimpse of him here on earth. So what are the practical implications of that? Every Christian is a walking advertisement for Christianity, whether they intend to or not. You might be the only practicing Christian in someone's life, and they're likely to generalize their impression of you to Christianity in general. It follows that apart from dressing with dignity, we should also try to express beauty through our appearance. This isn't limited to dress. Of course, inner beauty is the most important form of beauty, but humans have eyes. We weren't created as ghosts, but instead we were given a body through which we should glorify God as well. The first impression someone has of you will probably not be your good heart. Instead, they will notice whether you take care of your health, hygiene, and appearance. I'm genuinely convinced that all humans can be beautiful when they take care of themselves. And I think I can prove this to you. Have you ever been in a garden and thought to yourself, now, this is an ugly flower? Or have you ever been in nature and when you spotted a deer or a bunny, have you ever thought to yourself, well, there's a face only a hunter could love? You might have seen a wilted flower or a sick animal, but when healthy, all of God's creation is beautiful. There might be varying degrees of beauty in people, just like one might argue that some flowers are more beautiful than others. But at the end of the day, every human, just like every flower, possesses beauty. I think one reason why we judge our own appearance so harshly is because of constant confrontation with artificially created beauty ideals, which distort our perception of what's actually beautiful. These beauty ideals exist because if people had no insecurities about their looks, many corporations would lose customers. But that's not what I mean when I speak of beauty and its power. Many of those beauty ideals are actually harmful and unhealthy. The Christian goal should be instead to take care of the body you were given and to be the healthiest version of yourself. And when getting dressed, don't just throw random clothes together. You might be burying a talent without even noticing it. St. Francis de Sales actually wrote that the devout person should be the best dressed person in the company. By the way, this isn't automatically vanity. Father Mike Schmitz defines vanity as an inordinate preoccupation with what other people think. Caring about what other people think isn't bad. Actually, it's often necessary to be able to properly care for other people. By dressing well, for example, you show that you respect yourself and you show that you respect others. It becomes inordinate if it stops you from doing what God is calling you to do. To avoid an inordinate preoccupation with what others think, it's helpful to focus on what God thinks. Here I'd like to recommend a video I once made on the topic of pride, which also includes vanity, where I summarized multiple theological sources on the topic. In that video, I explained that in order to avoid pride, we should practice gratitude for our gifts instead. Either way, God gave you the gift of beauty, which you can and should employ for His greater glory. Dostoevsky once wrote that beauty will save the world. He saw beauty as intricately connected to truth and goodness. When used correctly, beauty can be a powerful tool for the apostolate. And in order to see what it means to use the gift correctly, I'd like to devote some attention to dressing with dignity, also called modesty. The goal of dressing modestly is to express the dignity of the person. Modest clothes draw the attention away from the body as merely a sexual object and instead direct the attention at the entire person, which encompasses that person's sexuality but isn't limited to it. Emphasizing dignity isn't opposed to expressing beauty. On the contrary, it emphasizes the beauty of the whole person. What it means to dress with dignity is subject to cultural change because what is considered elegant versus sexually provocative varies depending on time and place, and also on the profession and the state of life. What I personally think of when I hear dressing with class or with dignity are the various royal families in Europe. Their style isn't the only way to express dignity, but I think that it's certainly one good example. While modesty also reduces the temptation of others to lust, it's important to note that human beings have free will. This means that everyone is responsible for seeing others as persons, no matter what they wear. While tempting others to sin is sinful, it's crucial to remember that no matter what someone wears, it's always wrong to objectify them. Finally, I'd like to define what exactly lust is, as I've used the term multiple times in the previous section of this video. Lust is not the same as sexual attraction or erotic love. Lust is self-centered and turns a person into an object for one's own pleasure. It objectifies the other person by reducing them to an instrument for gratification rather than recognizing them as a whole and unique individual. Lust is focused on one's own gratification. The opposite of lust is love. Love is defined as willing the good of the other. And here the philosophical use of the word differs from everyday language, because love is always a choice. Just because you're wildly in love with someone doesn't mean you love them. You enjoy how the person makes you feel and what that person can do for you. But that's not automatically love. Love would be to wish them the best and take actions that lead to their good. Often, that means sacrifice on the part of the lover. One of the books I read in preparation for this video was God is Beauty. And in one chapter, an author reflected on nakedness in art. He told the story of how he was in his first art class at age 18, and the assignment was to draw a nude woman from observation of a live model. He explained that this was the first time he ever saw a naked woman, as he had been a, quote, good Byzantine Catholic boy so far, and had no experience with pornography. In the book, he recounts that he was capable of seeing the woman as a person, or in theological terms, he was capable to view her sacramentally by realizing that her body made visible the invisible, the spiritual and the divine. The reason why the body makes visible the invisible is that we can only interact with others through their body, and the body has the ability to make the entire person visible. When drawing the nude woman, the man realized that it's possible to look at a naked body without lusting. This man became a priest after art school. That passage fascinated me, and it made me wonder whether this would be the world we would be living in if pornography didn't exist. In fact, many studies have shown that watching porn leads to objectifying views. And according to a priest I once talked to, one of the reasons why fewer men are interested in becoming priests might be their inability to see women as persons. So if you have a child, think about how you can help them to stay away from pornography, because it's usually easier to prevent an addiction from developing rather than fighting the addiction after years of habit. This world needs more good Christian boys and girls. So when admiring beauty, it's important not to reduce someone to an object of pleasure, but to remind oneself that they are a person. Ask yourself how you can love that person instead of using them for pleasure. Take those moments where you admire beauty to direct your thoughts to God and thank Him for the beauty of His creation. In this way, every beautiful person you meet will serve as a reminder of God's infinite beauty, a reminder of the only satisfaction of this desire that can never be satisfied in this world.